What is up, DNS squad? Welcome back to another video. This is part 3, which will be my mom and my sister Tiana, as you guys know them. And they're basically gonna talk about, well, Tiana is gonna talk about her story this time about adoption and basically what she remembers. So let's get started.
Hello everyone, I am the mother of Tiana. I am Cassandra's mother. I'm the mother of 8 children. I have one biological daughter, Cassandra. She is my biological daughter, and the rest of my children are all adopted. I adopted 7 children. The reason you guys seen the vlog that just was this past week was called Adoption Day is because that is the day that I adopted my 7 children. We adopted them on the 7th month, the 7th of the month, and the year 2007. So we are the 777s. But yes, so we're going to talk about Tiana. She's the baby of the 8, and we're going to talk about her adoption story and how she became a Chavarria. So, let's see. Tiana was born May 22nd of 2006. I believe on the 24th of 2006, I got a call from Department of Human Services, and they were looking for a placement for Tiana. She was born drug addicted to any drug you can think of. She had it in her system. So they were looking for a placement for her because they were not going to send her home with her biological mom and family. The hospital called and they needed to inform me of the condition of Tiana. This is the hard part, but when they called, they said that she was really sick and they didn't know if she was going to make it. She had so much drugs in her system. She was going through really bad withdrawals. And I was a little hesitant at first because I was like, I haven't had a baby in 11 years. I don't know if I could handle taking care of a sick baby. And I talked to my husband. He was at work, and I called him. And I asked him, I said, hey, I got a call for a placement, and she's 3 days old, and they want to know if we can take her when she is released from the hospital. At that point, nobody knew besides me and my husband, but I had been praying for a baby of my own at that time, but it didn't happen, and we went through a miscarriage. So when I got the call for her, I was excited, but I was scared because I was like, I don't know if I could take care of a sick baby. I don't know how to take care of a baby that's on drugs. And so it was really scary for me. But in my mind, I was like, no, I have to see this baby. I have to know for sure if I want to keep this baby or if I'm going to pass up this opportunity. So when the nurse called, I told her my situation, and she said, well, honestly, Miss Chavarria, you don't have to take her. She's sick. And so I told her I wanted to come down to the hospital. I wanted to meet Tiana. She said that they would be expecting me. So that night I waited for my husband to get off work. We went down to the hospital. And when I got there, I was really excited, but I was scared because I didn't know what to expect. And they took us into the baby unit where all the babies were. And she was the only baby in there. And she was in a little incubator. And she was so tiny. And they literally used a washcloth as her blanket. And they covered her with the washcloth. So I walked up to the incubator and I looked in, and all I seen was just fluff of hair. She had a lot of hair. And I said, where's the baby? Her whole body was covered in the washcloth. And I kind of pulled the washcloth down a little bit, and her hand was sticking out. And I put my hand up there, and she instantly grabbed my pinky, and she held it pretty tight. And at that moment, I knew she was my baby, and I was meant to take her home. So that was our bond. The day that I met her, and she was an incubator, and she grabbed my pinky, and I told my husband, I said, yeah, I have to take her home. She needs us. And my husband, he was like, she's so cute, she's so tiny, because she was 3.5 pounds. And I remember talking to the nurse, and the nurse was putting all these medications inside a tube, trying to feed it to her because she had a little IV on her foot. And I remember watching them, and I said to myself, I said, a baby that's on drugs being injected with more drugs. How does that work? And in my mind, I couldn't think like how it was helping her. So they kept her in the hospital for another 2 weeks. They had to try to flush out as much drugs as they could from her system. She was getting convulsions and jitters, and she would shake. And I remember every day my husband and I would go to the hospital, and we'd be there right by her, and I would hold her, and they would let me feed her. And I thought in the back of my mind, I said, well, I'm only her foster mom. What if her mom comes back and takes her from me? How am I going to feel? And it scared me, but in my mind, I was like, no, I can't give up on this baby. So after 2 weeks, we brought her home. I remember bringing her home, and Cassandra, aka Tianna, she was so excited because she had a little baby sister, because she was the only child at the time. And I remember she kept saying, this is my birthday present, this is my birthday present, because she was so excited. And it was like a couple weeks after her birthday that we brought Tianna home, because Tianna and Tianna's birthday are 3 days apart. And so when we brought her home, I had nothing, absolutely nothing for an infant. So I told my husband, I said, we need baby stuff. I don't have baby clothes. I don't even have a bed to put a baby in. And luckily the hospital gave me a car seat, you know, to bring her home. I literally had nothing for a baby. And so one of my friends from church, I told her about Tianna, which is now her godmother. Her name is Beverly. I told her about Tianna, and she was happy for us, and she wanted to meet Tianna, and she said she wanted to plan a baby shower for me, for Tianna, because we had absolutely nothing. So meanwhile, while she was planning a baby shower for Tianna, another friend from church, he had made some calls to the church and said, hey, I have a lady that needs baby things. She just took in a baby that was drug exposed, and she's the foster mom. Well, the word got out that I had taken Tianna, and immediately within 2 hours, I had calls from people saying they had a crib, they had a high chair, they had bags of clothes, they had a baby tub. I mean, you name it, they had it. And so I remember calling my husband, and my husband went down to the church and picked up all this baby stuff they had brought to the church. And I remember I felt so overwhelmed. I was so happy, and I was excited, and I was just like, wow, what a blessing, you know? That's how I knew she was meant to be with me, because God provided everything she needed, everything. And so I remember her staying in my room. I was afraid to keep her in the crib by herself, because the crib was in the room that was across from me. But because she was so tiny and she was on oxygen, I was afraid to leave her in another room where I couldn't see her. So I had a little tiny like bassinet that I kept on the side of the bed, And I remember just waking up all and constantly like putting my finger under her nose to make sure she was still breathing, making sure she wasn't shaking. It was really hard. It was scary, but I would always lay my hand on her and I'd pray for her. And I remember I called a friend of mine, and she said to me, she said, "I need you to do something." And I said, "Whatever I need to do for my child, I'm going to do it." And she said, "When you bathe her, I want you to pour anointing oil in her tub. And while you bathe her, you pray over her and you rub her with the anointing oil." She's like, "Trust me, if you do this, it's gonna work." I was a little hesitant, but I was like, if it's gonna work, and it doesn't hurt to try. So I did it. Every time I'd put her in the tub, I'd pour some oil in there and I'd pour it on the washcloth and just bathe her in the anointing oil. So I did that for about a week. And within that week, I took her to the doctor and they gave her a blood test. And when they tested her blood, they found nothing. Her blood was clean. And he asked me about if she had the convulsions or anything like that, and I told him she hasn't had it. She's been good. And so he was like, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it." She's doing so well. She had started gaining weight. I mean, everything was on the ups. And so that's how it started off with Tianna. Now, as she got older, there was no signs of her being delayed in development, because they told me she would be. We see no signs of development delays. She was a little bit behind when it came to talking, but once she talked, there was no stopping her. She was a talker and she talked clear. There was no like misunderstanding what she said. And she's always been on the go and smart and funny. And so when people see her today, they would never know her story. And her biological mom gave her the name Tianna. And I gave her the middle name Miracle because she was a miracle baby. They didn't expect her to live. Tianna, growing up, she always knew she was adopted. I never kept that a secret from her. I know some parents, when they adopt, they choose not to say anything, and then the child finds out when they're a lot older, and sometimes they get angry because they didn't know. And I didn't want to have to experience that, so I was honest with her from day one. And she's always known she was adopted. It was never a secret. I tell my kids, I said, you're more special because I actually got to choose you. I got to pick you out. You're more special. She used to say like, "Why was I adopted? What happened? Where's the lady that had me in her stomach?" That's what she would tell me. And so we went through the story and I explained to her. And so she's always known the truth. I always tell the kids, I said, "You didn't grow in my belly, but you grew in my heart." Because all my kids have grown in my heart. They're all unique. They're all special. They all have their own quirks and they're all different, each and every one of them. But Tianna, her story is different from the rest because I've had her since she was 3 days old. And so her story, I starts from the beginning of her life.
Being adopted is not easy. There's a good part about being adopted, and there's the most hardest part ever. You know nothing about anything about your birth parents. You want to know things, but they're gone. You don't know where they are. You want to know things that you don't know. And I've always asked my mom to meet my birth mom, but what if she doesn't want to meet me? What if she gave up on me for a reason? But the good part about being adopted is I have a loving family, and if I was with my birth mom, I would either still be on drugs, I would probably either be dead. So that's the good part about being adopted, because I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have things. It only hits me sometimes when I'm really thinking about it. Like, it's not a constant thing that I think about. It's just something that pops into my head, like, where's my mom now? Like, is she in jail? Is she dead? Who knows? Like, I know nothing about that. Like, my mom could have had another child and I didn't know about it. I could have a sister, I could have a brother.
Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share it, and thumbs it up. And also, if you're new here, hello, my name is Tianna. And also, if you're new, like I said, go hit that bell button so you're notified. And subscribe as well. Thank you guys so much. Bye!